Solomon wove such lattices for the eyes of all those capable of understanding his meaning when he said, "When your eyes see a strange woman, your mouth will speak crooked things." Proverbs chapter 23, verse 33. By crooked things, he means the answer which, after sinning, we shall give at the time of retribution. But when we judge things in the right way, this prevents any dangerous gazing with our eyes and saves us from the confusion we should otherwise be in at that time. Solomon continues, "Be like someone who lies down in the midst of the sea, and like a pilot in a great storm." Proverbs chapter 23, verse 34. Now, if someone at the actual moment of temptation resists the sight which is tempting him, he is struggling to escape future punishment like a man battling in a storm at sea. Then he easily overcomes his assailants, not noticing the wounds they inflict, and he is able to say, "They struck me, but I felt no pain. They mocked me, but I paid no attention." Proverbs chapter 23, verse 35. "They struck me," he is saying, "and thought they had made a fool of me, yet I did not notice the wounds, for they were like children's arrows, and I paid no attention to their tricks, but behaved as if they were not there." David also despised such adversaries, for he said, "When the evil one turned away from me, I did not notice." By this he means I perceived them neither when they approached nor when they withdrew. Many of us, however, do not even realize that through the senses we enter into close association with sensory objects, and that such association leads easily to deception. We do not suspect the harm that results from this, but are unguardedly carried away by these sense impressions. How then, at the moment when we are being deceived, will we recognize the trap that has been laid for us, since we have not been trained to discern such things? The war fought by the Assyrians against the men of Sodom, Genesis chapter 14, verse 1 through 2, shows how the senses fight against sensory objects, and how the latter exact tribute from the senses when these are defeated. The scriptural narrative records the agreement, truce, and peace offerings made at the Dead Sea by the 4 kings of the Assyrians and the 5 kings of the regions around Sodom. Then the bondage of the 5 kings for 12 years. Then their revolt in the 13th year, and the war that ensued in the 14th year, when the 4 kings attacked the 5 and took them captive. Such was the external course of events. Now this story teaches us something about ourselves and about the warfare of our senses against sensory objects. The 5 kings represent the 5 senses, and the 4 kings the objects of sense perception. All of us, from birth up to the age of 12, uncritically allow our senses to be uncontrolled by the objects of sense perception, because our power of discrimination has not yet been purified. We let our senses obey sensory objects, as if they were the masters. Our sense of sight is controlled by things visible, our hearing by sounds, our taste by flavors, our sense of smell by odors, and our sense of touch by physical objects. Because we are children, we cannot discriminate between the various things we perceive or offer any opposition to them. But When our judgment starts to mature and we become aware of the harm we are suffering, we at once begin to think of rebelling against this slavery and escaping from it. And if we continue firm in this resolve, we can escape from these cruel masters and remain forever free. But if we waver in our decision, we betray our senses into captivity once more. They are overcome by the power of sensory objects, and from then on they endure a tyrannical servitude without any hope of escape. This is why the 5 kings in the story, after being defeated by the 4, were driven to wells of pitch. Genesis chapter 14, verse 10. In other words, those who are overcome by sensory things turn with each of their senses to the objects proper to that sense, as if to pits and wells. Henceforth they think about nothing except visible objects, because they have fixed their desire upon what is earthly, and are more attached to the things of this world than to those of the intellect.